Shabbat Shalom. I'm Cantor David Proser of Kempsville Conservative Synagogue, Kehillat Bet HaMidrash in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And this is the Torah portion commentary for Saturday, November 21st, 2020, corresponding to the 5th day of the Hebrew month of Kislev, 5781. We thank Rabbi Joseph Prauser, Rabbi Adam Rosenbaum, Rabbi Joyce Newmark, and the United Synagogue Torah Sparks series for their various teachings and publications on this week's Parsha. This Shabbat, November 21st, we read the Parsha of Toldot in the book of Bereshit, the book of Genesis. It begins on page 146 of the Eitz Chaim Chumash and page 93 of the Hertz. Our Parsha begins by telling us that this is the story of Yitzchak, Isaac, son of Avraham, and how at the age of 40 he marries Rivka, Rebekah, and she remains childless for 20 years. We continue with Yitzchak pleading with God on behalf of Rivka and of God responding to his plea. She conceives twins whose rivalry begins in utero. She feels the twins struggling in her, and after inquiring of God, she is informed that the sons she is carrying are two separate peoples, and the older will serve the younger. The firstborn, Esav, is born ruddy and hairy. His twin brother Yaakov, Jacob, emerges from the womb with a firm grip on his brother's heel. The names Esav and Yaakov are linked to the words for hair and for heel, respectively. Esav, who grows up to be a hunter, is favored by his father, while Jacob becomes a herdsman and enjoys a special bond with his mother, Rivka. One night, years later, Esav returns from a day's hunt famished. His more sedentary and mild-mannered brother, Yaakov, sells him some lentil stew in exchange for his birthright. Not only did Esav sell the birthright to Yaakov, but he also scoffed at any value it may have had. Yitzchak's adventures during adulthood mirror those of his father, Avraham. A famine impels Yitzchak to move the family to Gerar, where God appears to him and renews the covenantal blessing first granted to his father Avraham. Repeating an unseemly experience of Avraham's, Isaac conceals his wife's identity, claiming she is his sister. Rivka is taken by Avimelech, the king of Gerar, who returns her to her husband once their true relationship is revealed. Yitzchak is blessed with 100-fold harvest. Yitzchak's prosperity incites the envy of the Philistines, who stop up the wells originally dug by Abraham. Avimelech urges Yitzchak to leave Gerar. Yitzchak reclaims the wells that were stopped up by the Philistines. Continued conflict causes Yitzchak to leave for Beersheba, where God again renews his blessing, and Yitzchak makes a covenant with Avimelech. Esav marries 2 Hittite women, which did not please his parents. An aging Yitzchak, whose vision is failing, instructs Esav to bring him some meat in preparation of the patriarch's formal blessing of his firstborn. Rivka, however, contrives to secure the blessing for Yaakov, instructing her beloved son to disguise himself in pelts and Esav's clothing, and to bring his father food that she had prepared. The conspiracy succeeds. Yitzchak bestows his blessing and status as patriarch and rightful heir to God's covenant upon Yaakov, whom he has mistaken for Esav. When Esav returns, expecting his father's blessing, he learns of the deception and is disconsolate. His father, at first resistant, grants Esav a secondary blessing, which reinforces Yaakov's superior, if ill-gotten stature. Esav vows revenge on his brother, though we learn only later he never carries out this very understandable threat. Rivka conspires to protect her favorite son by sending him to her homeland of Padam Aram to find a wife, explaining to Yitzchak her disgust for Hittite women such as Esav's wives. Yitzchak blesses Yaakov again, calling into question the extent of his anger at the deception earlier perpetrated against him, and dispatches his son in accordance with Rivka's plan. The Parsha concludes with Esav, always the well-meaning and dutiful son, attempting to please his parents by marrying Ishmael's daughter, Mahalat. His new wife is, of course, a granddaughter of Avraham, but like Esav, she is from outside the chosen line. The Haftorah for this week is from the book of Malachi, verses 1:1 to 2:7, beginning on page 163 of the Eitz Chaim Chumash and page 102 of the Hertz. Malachi was the last of the prophets. He lived around 450 BCE, at the time just after the rebuilding of the Second Temple. It devolved into a time when temple practice became rote and, in modern technology, phoned in. It was also a period when respect and admiration of the God of Israel seemed higher in surrounding nations than in the nation of Israel itself, and specifically its priesthood. This Haftorah recalls the rivalry between Yaakov and Esav as it focuses on the ongoing historical strife between their descendants, Israel and Edom. Edom has also been used by the rabbis as a term for the Romans. The prophet also notes that just as Esav belittled the meaning of his birthright in an impudent act involving food, the latter-day heirs to Jacob scorn God through impious treatment of food, meaning their animal sacrifices. Malachi acts as God's advocate against a nation which has come to see service to God as an unwanted chore to be discharged with the least possible effort. Malachi puts special stress on the priest's duty of piety and purity before the Lord. A link between the Parsha and the Haftorah is established at the outset. Malachi announces that God has accepted Jacob but rejected Esav. Through the prophet, divine love expresses an absolute confirmation of Israel's covenantal destiny, with reverence for God and loyalty in his service being the fitting response. Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos. As always, thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe, to like, to turn on notifications, and please feel free to leave comments below.